Hey, everybody, welcome to the Takeover. Now, I know you might be asking, what is the Takeover? Takeover is a brand new podcast for teens and young people dealing with issues, dealing with teens and young people. Now, this is our first episode, and I'm your co-host, Marcellus.
Oh, okay. I'm Justice, in case you didn't know that already.
He's Justice. You know what, Justice? Before we get going into our topics for today, let's give everybody some encouraging words because we're going through a lot in our world right now, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, I'm gonna start. Got it. Okay, so we're coming out of the Book of Psalms, the 91st chapter. This is the Message version. So if you have it, you can follow along. I'm just gonna read it to you now. You who sit down in the high God's presence, spend the night in Shaddai's shadow. Say this, God, you're my refuge. I trust in you, and I'm safe.
Now, hold on. We want you to actually say this. So, Justice is going to read that again. I want you to repeat it after him.
Okay. You who sit down, okay, yeah, thank you, in the high God's presence.
You weren't supposed to read that part.
What?
Say this.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You can start right there because I cut off pretty clean. So. Say this.
Say this, God,
God,
you're my refuge.
you're my refuge.
I trust in you,
I trust in you,
and I am safe.
and I'm safe. Wow. Keep going.
Oh, okay. That's right. He rescues you from hidden traps, shields you from deadly hazards. His huge, outstretched arms protect you. Under them, you are perfectly safe. His arms fend off all harm. Fear nothing, not wild wolves in the night, not flying arrows in the day.
Not disease that prowls through the darkness, including COVID-19. Not disaster that erupts at high noon. Even though others succumb all around, drop like flies right and left, no harm will even graze you. You'll stand untouched, watch it all from a distance. Watch the wicked turn into corpses. Yes, because God's your refuge, the high God your very own home, evil can't get close to you. Harm can't get through the door.
He orders his angels to guard you wherever you go. If you stumble, they'll catch you. Their job is to keep you from falling. You'll walk unharmed among lions and snakes and kick young lions and serpents from the path.
If you hold on to me for dear life, says God, I'll get you out of any trouble. I'll give you the best of care if you'll only get to know and trust me. Call me and I'll answer. Be at your side in bad times. I'll rescue you, then throw you a party. I'll give you long life, give you a long drink of salvation. Wow. That's powerful. If that does not get you excited about what God can do for us, even in these troubling times, I don't know what else to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you either.
All right. Speaking of troubling times, one of the biggest things we're obviously dealing with is this COVID-19.
Yes, COVID-19.
So I'm curious, you being a little bit younger than myself.
Okay.
I ain't that old, but, he's a little bit younger than I am. Some of the issues dealing with young people, I know schools all around have been postponed or suspended or canceled, depending on where you're at. How's that going for y'all? How's that affecting you?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I am in college, and we're doing online schooling now, and it's kind of difficult because I used to every day. I used to go up to the college, sit down in a chair, teacher would come in, hey, how y'all doing? I'm good, and then we'd have that discussion. She'd ask us what's going on in the world. I get my phone out, get on some news website. We just have discussion in classroom, but now it's different because you have to go on the website. You got to go in this discussion online, and I mean, I don't like going to school. I don't like having to drive and get out of my car and do all of that, but I can appreciate it a little bit more now.
Wait, so you actually like being online?
Well, no, not really.
Not really. See, now when I was in school, when I was in college, I took as many online classes as possible because I loved it. But I'm also naturally introverted, so for me, it was just a way I could, stay at home and still get my work done and get my learning in. But you would rather go to a physical class?
Yeah, I like the discussion. I like the seeing other people, being in the same class. We all have something in common, you know. I just like that.
All struggling with the same class.
Well, I'm not struggling. They are. They ask me for help. So yeah.
He's struggling too.
No, I'm not.
But anyway, these high schoolers, what's interesting about these high schoolers is nobody's really sure how the state is going to handle these online learning that they're doing, if they're going to count it towards their credits or not. So it's kind of up in the air with the high school, which is seemingly unfair. So I'm hoping by the time you see this, that there's something worked out where the state will certainly count these online, because we just don't know how long this is going to last. There's some school districts that are talking about being off the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's U of M. In fact, they're not having physical classes for the rest of the semester, for sure. So right here in our very own city, great school, U of M Flint, which I graduated from, by the way. But anyway, one of the other things you mentioned to me before we came on set and on camera was that a lot of your school friends also hold jobs, in the fast food industry, things like that, and their jobs are considered essential during the stay-at-home order.
Yeah, one of my friends, she just got hired at Meijer, which is essential. Meijer's a grocery store, but some of my friends work at McDonald's. They work at Wendy's, Arby's, KFC. I mean, I don't think that's essential. I don't need to go to McDonald's and get a sausage McGriddle.
What if you can't cook?
Well, I mean,
what if your mama can't cook?
You got to deal with that.
Or your daddy can't cook?
Bad cooking. I mean, you got to deal with it.
Some people need McDonald's. That's all I'm saying. Because you ever see some people putting a plate of food on the internet and be like, that don't look good at all?
Unfortunately, yes, I do see that.
Just saying, those people might need McDonald's.
But at what cost?
Okay,
all right. I'm preaching now.
Yeah, don't start preaching.
Okay, I won't start preaching.
Oh, go ahead, preach on.
Where do we draw the line, though? Between safety and, okay, I can't cook, but I also want to be safe. So what do I do?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's kind of hard where you put that line at, because you got exceptions for the food industry, obviously. Anybody with a retail food license can use that exception. So you got other businesses that may happen to have a retail food industry. Now they just put a couple of food items in their store, they can stay open, things of that nature. So, we have to consider what essential really is. And unfortunately to me, it almost seemed like, some workers are not just essential, but more so expendable. And I don't think that's right,
Yeah.
But hopefully, again, we won't be under this order, but a few weeks. I think it's scheduled to come off in our state, April 13th. So hopefully, prayerfully, we will be ready to roll by then, and this COVID-19 will be following the bell curve, but on the decline. But let's talk about social life, though. I mean, since you like going to class and stuff, that means you like being social. What is this impacting on young people in their social lives?
Well, for me, not being able to, first of all, not being able to leave the house, that's kind of like torture for me. I don't want to get into the details because she might be watching, but I will say this: I don't like doing chores all day long.
Oh, now I know who she is.
You don't, okay. If you're watching, hi, I'm sorry, but I will say this. Not, I mean, I can imagine not being able to go out with your friends, having to stay in all day. It could be challenging, and then there's some things so for entertainment because eventually you're gonna run out of stuff to do, stuff to watch, and then you're gonna start getting into other stuff that is not necessarily good.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think about this social distancing thing that is popular. And I'm going to offer that we shouldn't be calling it social distancing. We should call it physical distancing, because we're probably socially more closer than we've ever been as a country with social media and things of that nature. But it's our physical distance that we need to increase. And even now, as we're sitting here, as you can see, we got our disinfected can of Lysol, which, by the way, includes coronavirus on the can of something that it does kill. But we've took precautions to disinfect our microphones, our chairs, our electronic equipment, everything that we would come in contact. Even though it's only us two here in the studio, it's amazing how much this social distancing thing and this thing is changing what we do every day. And might I say that our studio is inside our church, so we are actually not in violation of the order, because we are at a religious institution. Just saying, I didn't want anybody to think we was violating.
Yeah, and then so if there is a store that's still open, like USPS is still open, FedEx is still open, they got like tape there, and so you can't cross that line. So the lady was like, "Am I gonna help you?" And I didn't, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna walk in and give you my stuff, no problem. And she was like, she was so rude. I'm like, she was like, "Do you see the sign?" I said, "This one over here." She said, "Yeah, read that sign." I said, "Don't cross." I said, "Okay." So you're just gonna be rude to me like that? And then it was like a whole thing. But you got to be careful. I mean, she could have had it. I could have had it. But I don't have it. I know I don't have it.
Thank God. And we don't believe we will. Praise God. We believe God protect us, as we said. But you told me a fun fact about this social media and how maybe it's making people closer than we thought before.
Yeah, more than 1/3 of children find it easier to be themselves online.
Wow, that's interesting, because I think it may be the opposite for adults. I think adults may find it easier to be somebody else online. You get a lot of online people that, talking a little bit maybe bigger and bolder than they really are, or things of that nature. So that's an interesting fact that it may be in reverse for young people.
Yeah.
So, you know what, though? I don't want to spend our whole time on COVID-19, but it is affecting so much of what we do that it's important for us to, young people are dealing with things concerning it. So, but one of the things that affected me most, and even some young people, is sports. Now, I know you might be saying, y'all might not know Justice. He's not really a sports guy.
No.
Maybe you can tell by the outfit. But anyway, he tried. But anyway, think about it like this. The high school basketball tournament, state tournament, was canceled right at the district championship games. So those seniors that maybe were looking to have a great tournament performance that could bolster their college options for next year, they no longer had that option. Those teams that had worked so hard and had really turned things around and were finally culminating in the opportunity to win and come to that great group of people that it's only a limited amount of teams that can say we won a state championship. And then certainly on the college level, those seniors, those non-seniors that are going to the next level that needed the NCAA tournament to maybe bolster their draft stock, I mean, that's their professional careers. And a lot of times I don't think we think about that. We think sports is not important. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, sports is not life or death, but it is people's livelihoods. And we have to look at that, and we have to consider that and say, these people's lives are impacted much more than we want to think. And, that brings me to what we call our Tales of Interesting Youth segment portion of our podcast. And that was I know you don't know this guy, but he's Clemson University's quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Now, you out there, a lot of you will know who he is. Golden boy. He's a, great quarterback. Just an awesome individual from what all things that we hear. But what he did was he started a GoFundMe account for COVID-19 victims, if you will. I don't like to say victims, but those who are impacted by it. But the NCAA, which is the governing body of college sports, shut it down.
Wow.
They shut it down. They said he couldn't use his likeness to earn money or have a fundraiser. So it's a little bit unsettling, but it shows you how far the NCAA will go to control the members of its institutions, which are the athletes in the NCAA. And so now I will say I'll give the NCAA credit. They felt the scrutiny really fast, and they ended up changing that rule and allowed his GoFundMe page to continue. But it just goes to show not only did this young man have some foresight to do this, but man, we gotta be able to adapt to situations and not hold hard and fast to the letter of the law when the spirit of the law is the most important thing in that situation. And people need help. So if that young man can get more help because of people know who he is and they recognize his face, why not? Why not? What else is COVID-19 affecting for you?
Well, it's affecting church.
This is a hot button one here.
Oh, yeah. So, obviously, well, first they had decided that people should not be going to church. And so they limited the amount of people to 50. And so they reversed that. Now we can have church if we want to, but people are still scared. Even before this whole thing happened, though.
Rightfully so. Shouldn't they be somewhat fearful?
Well, yeah, they should. Well,
maybe fear is not the right word.
Well, maybe
mindful.
Yes, mindful. Because we just read a whole scripture or multiple scriptures about how God's going to protect us anyway. But we should still be smart and we should still use wisdom in our everyday lives. But young people, especially, attendance at church, from where I see it, has not been where it should be. And with this whole COVID-19, the disease is going around, we need to get out here. Well, actually, some churches are doing live stream church, like our church is doing a live stream church.
What church is that?
What do you mean?
What church is that? You said our church.
Oh, you don't know what our church is?
Well, they don't.
Oh, okay. Well, Kingdom of Heaven Ministries website is www.itk2.com. It should be on the bottom of your screen. If I haven't been lazy, but we are streaming. It's important too that we hear the word because we are the next generation, and you know, a word that Dr. Brown has could be for anybody. It could be for him. It could be for me at the same time, even if we got an age difference. I mean,
it's universal. The word is universal.
The word is universal.
But it's very important. That's why this show is called The Takeover, because young people are the next generation to take over and do this. And you know, the funny thing about it is, I found that people are talking about COVID-19 as a reason not to go to church, but they were already not going.
Right.
So it's not that. You know, there's a lot of reasons why people choose. You know, there's a lot of people talking about social media preachers, if you will, as I like to call them, talking about, well, you don't need to gather. We are the church. And while all those things are facts, you don't have to gather to be saved. We are certainly the church. The Bible tells us that Jesus went into the synagogue as was his custom. So he did it regularly. That's what a custom is. So if we're, you know, supposed to be like Jesus, because that's what we are, then even he went. Now, again, like Justice said, we need to be wise. And when we come together, and we need to follow precautions, and we certainly need to not gather when it's not necessary, and obey this order as best we can to protect the people in the church and those that need to gather to handle the live stream, they need to make sure they're practicing the physical distancing, as we mentioned earlier, and making sure they're disinfecting things and not, coughing on each other and sneezing on each other and things like that. Very important that we understand that this virus can live on surfaces longer than in the air. It's not truly an airborne disease. The facts are coming out now that it's really more passed by direct contact with someone or some object that they've touched. Seems to last longer on metal and plastic, which is kind of interesting. Plastic, I believe, is 3 days. Copper, maybe a day. Cardboard, 24 hours that it can last on it. So it's very interesting. Information is still coming on. So we're definitely, at Kingdom of Heaven Ministries, we're taking precautions because we want to keep our people safe. And that's, if we're not in it for the people, what are we in it for? But I do want to say, whatever your local church is that you're attending, make sure you're still giving. Make sure you're still giving as best you can. I know a lot of people are laid off. Some people are still getting paid. Some people are still working. Those of us that can, make sure we're still giving because the church is going to continue to keep the lights on. They're going to continue to provide the word of God for you. Our pastors continue to pray over your life. And so we want to make sure we support them. All right. Now, there's one more COVID-19 topic that we want to talk about, but I'm going to let Justice handle it because he's passionate about it.
Well, it's that time where we all talk about politics.
Oh, boy.
Politics. You know what they say? Never bring up politics at the dinner table.
Or religion.
But there is no dinner table. It's just a fake wooden table, I think. Is this fake wood?
Oh, that's wood.
Okay. Well, a real wooden table. But as we all know, as we all should know, Democrats, there's two people running for president of the Democratic Party. It's Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Now, Sanders has decided that he won't leave the race until July. He's hoping to get a broker convention. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. Okay.
First of all, as you get into that, should young people be knowledgeable about this stuff?
Absolutely.
Well, why? Why?
Because the fate of the country is in your hands. If you're old enough to vote, and even if you're not old enough to vote, you should still be informed because it's just important.
Agreed.
Look up the values and the principles and whatever that Joe Biden is. His platforming is, I don't know the word.
Platform is good.
Yeah, his platform, Bernie Sanders' platform, and make an informed decision. Bernie, he has promised to reduce student debt and reduce, what is the word I'm thinking of? The monies. What is the word? Monies. I'm thinking about it.
Tax?
No, not tax. I don't know. Tuition.
Oh.
Tuition. He wants to make college free for everybody. Joe is a little bit more moderate Democrat. And then we got Donald Trump, who's running in the Republican camp.
Against no one. So, let that lay there. Very interesting, though, because I don't consider myself really into politics. I am very much knowledgeable at my age and exercise my right to vote each and every time, primaries, local elections, things of that nature, not just for president. We want to be very clear that you need to exercise your right to vote in our local elections. Sometimes they're even more important because they affect you directly when you're dealing with different things in locally where funds are being raised and things like that. Your mayor, your different, for example, you're looking for our Mott Foundation here was just on our recent ballot. Our library, our public libraries was just on our recent ballot. So we want to make sure that we're looking at that. And young people, like Justice said, if you're old enough to vote, definitely you should be aware. And if you're not quite there yet, but you're on your way, growing, especially if you're right on that cusp, next year you're going to be ready. You're going to be up to age. Ask your parents, can you go with them to the polls? See what it's like. get an experience for it, and it'll make it much easier for you when it's time for you to cast that vote. Uh, when it's your time.
It's an amazing experience, by the way. Hundreds of years of us fighting for that right to vote. African Americans at one point weren't even allowed to vote. Women at one point weren't allowed to vote. So, I mean, if you fall into one of those things, you should be jumping out and going to vote regardless. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going and I'm going to vote.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the fight to vote, because I think a lot of people think that's like hundreds of years ago. The Civil Rights Act is not very old, folks. It's very recently that we haven't been able. Our grandparents, ask your grandparents if they're still around, or your great grandparents, how it was for them, and you'd be surprised the stories that they'll be able to tell you. So it's not such a long time. But listen, y'all, we just wanted to kind of introduce you to the Takeover. We're not going to talk about COVID-19 every time we get together. We just wanted to make sure we talked about the things that were relevant to our young people today, because a lot of times the news media is catered towards adults and things like that. So we need to be somewhere. There needs to be an eye and a hand to young people in our country and in our city. Now, certainly you're going to see an ability to comment on this, so we want to hear your comments, whatever they may be. Now, understand that if this comment is clean, if it's not clean, it will be deleted. Okay, so we need to make sure that we understand what we are.
Anything about politics is clean,
as long as it's not derogatory.
Sure.
My English teacher used to tell me in middle school.
No, I don't.
I'm not sure why I remember this, but that was a while ago. She used to tell me, as long as it's not illegal, illicit, or immoral, you can put it out. So if it's not illegal, illicit, or immoral, and that was Miss Mary Lou Roth that told us that at Longfellow Middle School. Miss Roth, still one of my favorite teachers ever. But we want to leave you with something as we depart this week, and we're going to try to do this weekly. Hopefully, we can get our schedules together to do it weekly, at least for you. And we're going to try to do some maybe live stream. So you can comment, and we can do some live question and answer, or some commenting and doing like that. So we got a lot of plans for it. But we want to leave you with another thought from the book of Psalms, this time in chapter 94, verses 16 through 19 in the Message Bible. This is a thought for you when you start feeling down. You need to say this, and say this aloud to yourself. Psalms 94, 16 through 19, the Message Bible. Who stood up for me against the wicked? Who took my side against evil workers? If God hadn't been there for me, I never would have made it. The minute I said I'm slipping, I'm falling, your love, God, took hold and held me fast. When I was upset and beside myself, you calmed me. You calmed me right down and cheered me up. Wow. That's where our hope and our joy comes from. It comes from God. And we need to put it on him, and not depend on our parents to make us happy, not depend on our schools to make us happy, not depend on our jobs to make us happy, not depend on our friends to make us happy, but trust God to bring us joy. Any last words?
Well, I think you covered everything.
All right, y'all.
Mary Lou, what was her name? That sounds like a Dr. Seuss character.
Mary Lou Roth.
Mary Lou Roth.
Ms. Roth, he don't know no better.
You should not even watching. She did.
Forgive him.
Real old, probably.
Forgive him, Ms. Roth. He knows not what he does. We'll see y'all next time.
Please get me over here.
Please.